All right, so Dr. Renee, how long have you been doing what you're doing?
Since 2005, so what's that, 14 years?
14 years.
Yeah.
And what exactly do you do?
So I do public relations and kind of little management. And then I myself am my own talent. I'm a talent myself. I'm my own client, I guess you could say. So I do TV, radio, print and online media, talking about usually health.
Yep.
I've done several blog posts for some bigger blogs like Madame Noir and I just forgot her name, goodenoughmother.com. And then of course I've been on Sway in the Morning. I had a video that was on Katie Couric's talk show back when she had it on. And and then I've been in Essence and Ebony.
So what do you think is one or two of the biggest contributors to your success?
So I think the first thing is social media. Because of social media, people outside of my circle found out who I was, what I talked about, and what I did. And I think my networking abilities, because the other half, because obviously I am Dr. Renee, so I'm a medical doctor.
Yep.
I did not go to school for public relations. And so for the fact that I have the contacts that I have in television and radio and print and all other forms of media, it's just been because of my networking.
So what advice would you give younger people who, maybe doctors, lawyers, or professionals trying to increase their networking ability, right? Because everyone says, networking, that's the key to success, right? So could you tell the viewers, what are some of your networking tips you can give out?
So one of my favorite tips is do your homework. So if you know, one part of homework is figuring out what events to attend, because you don't need to be at everything. Yep. You need to figure out exactly which ones are going to have the people that you need to know there. Then you need to know who are the people that are going to be there so that you can do the homework ahead of time to figure out exactly who in the room you need to meet, because obviously you don't need to meet everybody, but there's key people that you'll probably need to meet. And when I say do your homework, find out exactly what these people look like, because if they're not celebrities or something, you may not know. You just might have heard the name. Then you need to know information about them, because everyone says they hate small talk. I hate small talk. I don't do small talk. So the reason I don't do small talk is because I've done my research and I know these strange little facts about people that I can start a conversation that is going to lead to a conversation. It's not going to be small talk, and it's not going to be uncomfortable, because I don't want to be uncomfortable just like the next person doesn't.
So you don't talk about the weather. You have to talk about something interesting.
And I don't do sports, so I'm not going to talk about sports. So I talk about something that I know that they're interested in, that I know enough about, that I'm not going to make a fool of myself. Because that's the key. You don't want to, please don't get yourself out there and then you can't seem to find your way back home because you have started a conversation about cigars and you've never smoked one a day in your life. So
that's a very good point.
Staying
in your lane.
Exactly, because it's very evident quickly when you have no idea what you're talking about. So,
and it also seems to me, from what you're saying, that you do homework, but you also tailor the conversation to what you like or kind of what you want to get out of it, right? But also, I'm guessing you add value to that person too.
Well, so my thing is with networking, and that's my number 3, is that you need to always add value to the people. So you have to figure out what you can say to them that is going to add value to whatever they're doing. And if you go in asking for something, that does not, most people aren't gonna like that. There are a few people that are gonna be okay with it, but most people aren't gonna like that. But if you can add value to them up front, then on the back end, they probably will end up helping you without even, them even realizing they're helping you, or it won't be a big deal for you to ask them because you've gotten that in.
Okay.
And I have a perfect story. You want me to tell this first?
Please share a story.
Okay. So Paul Carrick Brunson, who most people know, he had a show on OWN called Lovetown USA. Yep. He is they call him the modern day Hitch. So Paul, and actually he's hosting Celebs Go Dating in the UK right now. So Paul was on Twitter, and a friend told me there's this black man that's doing matchmaking on Twitter. And I was like, oh, really? And he was catering to my demographic. And I was like, oh, well, I'm going to follow him because they knew I was big on Twitter.
Yep.
So I started following him. So every week, I think it was Matchmaking Wednesdays, he would do matchmaking. So he would post a tweet about a man or a woman, and then you would, respond. I was like, oh, interesting. So followed him like that. Well, then he ends up showing up on all these different talk shows, and I would see him, and I'm like, oh, wow. Then we didn't know. I think the show was starting to get some publicity about the show being on OWN. So Paul ends up doing a upfront here in Chicago, of course, because it was OWN. And he tweeted, who has the best pizza? And I was like, in Chicago. And I was like, wait a minute, is this man in Chicago? And so I sent him a DM and was like, are you in Chicago? And he said, yes, sis, I'm in Chicago. I don't have a lot of time, blah, blah, blah. I said, okay. He was like, meet me, and so I was like, okay. So I met him, and I think a year after that, one of his staff sent me a message and said, Paul said that you would be a good person for this job. And I'm like, really?
A year later?
Yeah.
1 year.
Now, well, a year later, but in between that year, Paul had a book that came out. I retweeted and told everybody to buy this book.
Now, did Paul pay you to do that?
Nope. Paul came to Chicago. After that time, he came to Chicago and had an event at Harpo. And that was actually kind of his book launch here, but the book wasn't out yet, so we didn't get to have books in our hands. But he had an event. Me and my sister attended. My sister came to town. We went to the event, introduced ourselves. Well, he knew who I was. He met my sister that day. Well, then he had a book signing in Brooklyn, where he's from. My sister went.
Because she's on the East Coast.
Of course. And now they actually have physical books, so she could actually get it signed. Because my book was mailed to me, and it's still not signed. Isn't that funny? So my sister. He may be able to sign. Well, I'll get to that. So my sister takes her book and goes. She goes to the book's, signing, and she tells him, "I'm Dr. Renee's sister," and he says, "Oh, foodie engineer." And I said, "You didn't have that written down?" She said, "No, my name was written down." And I said, and he knew that off the top of his dome? She's like, yeah. And then he says to her, please tell your sister, I see everything that she does, but I'm just so busy I can't respond. But I appreciate all of her support. Because like I said, I would retweet, I was posting on Facebook, like I did everything, right?
A big fan. And it was genuine.
And you know what else? So once I found out that he was Jamaican and we're West Indian too, we became Facebook friends. So every time he would show up on a talk show, I would send him a little critique. Not that he asked for
it. Right, just some feedback.
Feedback, yes.
Friend to friend.
I just did it, and whatever. I guess I kept the lines of communication open, whatever. And so I did that. So like I said, finally they send me this message. They want me to work for them, and I was like, oh, whoa, okay. And so he ended up calling me, explaining it to me, and he told me I wouldn't get paid. And I'm like, okay. And so I was like, okay, I'll do it. He's like, you sure? I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So I did it, and I forgot how long I did it for free. And then later I ended up getting paid. And this was in 2014, I think. So last year, 2018, I became his operations manager.
Wow.
So yeah, I could get my book signed easily, but he doesn't sign it.
If you have other things to do as an operations manager.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. So that's all about networking. I mean, to the T. Like he started on Twitter the same time I started on Twitter, which was around 2008 when we basically were there when Twitter first started. And I saw him grow. I mean, he has 6-figure followers right now on Twitter. He has 6 figures on Facebook. And I think he has 5 figures on Instagram. And then, his LinkedIn is ridiculous. He's a whatever they call it, top something LinkedIn person, whatever. So he has, I can't even tell you the numbers on LinkedIn. But he's utilized every form of social media the way you're supposed to.
Right. And so this is kind of a quick tip. You can summarize it for all the entrepreneurs, all the aspiring business owners, all the startups that trying to get their legs up under them. What would you say regarding networking? I would say do your homework. Do your homework. And there's all these random places to find events, but did you know that Eventbrite, if you connect it to your Facebook, it will tell you who of your Facebook friends are going to certain events. Really? And that's how I figure out where I need to be. Because I get those little emails and they'll say such and such is going to such and such. And I'm like, well, if they're going, then I should probably be going. And honestly, that's how I've gone to
probably about 60% of the events in the last like 3 years, because those emails just started coming all of a sudden. And I was like, oh, this is so brilliant.
And they've obviously paid dividends for you.
Yeah, oh yes, definitely. And then, you know, just like I said, you can see who's going to events most of the time nowadays. You can see exactly the names of who, and you can figure out who it is you need to know.
And it's all about doing your homework, and
Yeah.
that translates to networking, to running your business.
Right. Even social media. I literally went on YouTube and said, how do I? And I learned how to use different forms of social media straight up on YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah, so do your homework.
Do your homework. So, Dr. Renee, thanks for joining us. It's D.K Smith.
Oh yes, you can follow me at Ask Dr. Renee on all platforms. So YouTube, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook. I'm Ask Dr. Renee. My website's askdrrenee.info. So I'm a resource for information.
All right, D.K Smith. Follow me at MR_DK Smith on Instagram. Click any of the links below to learn more. Visit my website, dksmithandco.com. And thank you again, Dr. Renee, and talk to you all later.